Hey everybody, Beth Helvey, Couture Real Estate. I hope you're doing well today. Trying something a little different with the video. I want to talk to you today about multiple offers. It's all in the news. Everybody is doing them. It seems like anytime you want to put an offer on a property, there's a bunch of offers. So here's a little bit about them. We're seeing them at all price points. Not necessarily just the lower end or the mid end or the high end. We're seeing them at all price points. They're going to last. How long they last is going to be different in different areas of the country. In this area of the country, in Florida specifically, we think it's going to last a little bit longer, only because we think we're still going to have people coming to the area. We're coming out of our season, although during the summer, we believe we're going to be just as busy as we were during season. And then, of course, the next season starts, and we think we're going to see a lot of people coming. The reason that we're seeing this is what we've been talking about. There are lower interest rates, which are driving people to make that move now versus last year, the year before. Building supplies are expensive. Have you seen in the news the cost of lumber? It is insane. Because of that, new construction has slowed down, and even some communities has ground to a halt. Because of that, we have an inventory shortage. It's not just new construction, but that's part of our inventory shortage. Typically speaking, we have enough new builds being sold that it helps provide housing for all the people coming into the country. But there are many, many communities where it's ground to a halt. I've got two clients in particular who have been on a list since January, and we have no idea when lots are going to be released. Another reason is there's been a huge shift in demographics. People are still leaving the cities and they're coming to a little bit more sprawled out areas like Sarasota and Manatee counties. And they're coming out of the cities for a variety of reasons. And so we're seeing that. And it's not just they're coming to Florida, they're shifting in different places of the country as well. So here's what we're seeing. We're seeing on multiple offer situations, and you'll find this even sometimes in the listing itself, that it will say, the listing will say that they are open this day, from this time to this time, and the highest and best is due by X time frame. I mean, we're seeing that because it's so prevalent right now that it's actually just in the listing. It may not be in the public remarks, but it's definitely going to be in the realtor remarks. Now, not every listing is saying that, but the ones where they're expecting this, and it's honestly, typically speaking, it's usually from the realtors who have a bit more experience in this realm. So what does a seller have to do or not have to do? They don't have to tell you how many offers they have. It could be 2 offers, it could be 20. They don't have to tell you that. They don't have to tell you the terms. As a matter of fact, they probably won't tell you the terms, and they shouldn't tell you the terms. Once in a while, you're going to see something where a seller is looking for cash only, or a certain closing date, or something of that nature. And the listing agent should tell you that piece of information. However, they don't have to tell you that. They can choose any time frame. I put an offer on a property where literally highest and best was due later that day, and it hit the market that morning. I think it was like 24 hours. And I put an offer on one where the time frame was 4 days. It's different. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no usual. It's whatever the seller wants, whatever the seller is willing to do. And of course, whatever the listing agent is willing to do, whatever the listing agent is advising them to do. So they can choose whatever time frame they want. They don't have to pick one. Doesn't matter how many offers they have. Doesn't matter if they get an offer that's over ask price, at ask price. They don't have to pick one. Now, granted, the chance of them not picking one isn't very good, but they don't have to pick one. They can go back and negotiate. So they can go back and talk to one buyer. They can talk to 2 buyers. And sometimes the negotiation is price. I mean, that's what most people think it is, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the seller saying, hey, listen, can you close a month later because I really need to for X reason? Or can you change this term in the contract? It's not always the buyer came in with the highest and best and the seller is asking for more money. Not always. Usually it's another term in the contract and they would like you to tweak it. And if you agree to it, you win. And they can do that with more than one buyer. They don't have to just go to one buyer. It gets risky, but they can do it. They may not choose the highest offer. Okay. If you're coming in with a loan and you have an offer coming in that's cash but a little bit less than yours, they might go with cash because it's a safer bet. They may choose it because they like the closing date you picked. They like the other terms you picked. It's not always the highest price. Sometimes there are people who are, and I have clients doing this, who are submitting offers where they're getting a loan and they are basically canceling the finance contingency. What that means is that if the appraisal doesn't come in, although typically it does, well, sometimes it does, this buyer is willing to cover that difference and won't come back to the seller and negotiate that term again. So they're willing to just let it go. And oftentimes this is with buyers who have no doubts whatsoever that they're going to get the loan. They're not afraid that at some point towards the end of this process, they may not get that loan. They've already gone through all of this and know that they're going to get it. And it could be and it's inspection periods. Our default inspection period on our contract is 15 days. A lot of sellers want it lessened. Is that tricky? Yes, because our inspectors are just as busy as our realtors. So sometimes getting in with an inspector is tricky. But let's face it, sellers are in the driver's seat right now and they can choose what they want. What can they do? If you are a buyer, you're better off assuming that there's other offers. I mean, sometimes even there'll be a property that sits in the market for 20 days, 30 days, and then you put an offer in and then suddenly it's multiple offers. I've seen that. I saw a property that was on the market for close to 150 days and there were 3 offers within the same time frame. It happens. It's weird, but it happens. And you need to understand that when you do put an offer in, if your offer is rejected, it's not always because your offer was bad. Oftentimes, at least with a lot of the clients I'm working with, they just chose another offer, and it may even be nonsensical to us why they chose that other offer, but there are sellers who are just doing that, and oftentimes we're close, we're neck and neck, and we're offering almost exactly the same terms, okay? So I know it's hard, but just keep at it. It's really, really, really important that you have an up-to-date and current proof of funds, and you have an up-to-date and current pre-approval. By proof of funds and up-to-date, you really should be within roughly the last 30 days. The pre-approvals typically last about 60 days, but if you can, get it renewed, that's a good idea. Like every 30 days, that's a good idea. So make sure you have that when you submit your offer. Make sure when you submit your offer that you fill out all the addenda. I mean, granted, by the time you're done with addenda and a contract is 12 pages and you've got all your addenda, you're signing 20, 25 pieces of paper and you're doing it over and over and over again. And yeah, that gets tedious, but do it anyways, because there are listing agents, myself included, who will then choose a contract that is fully filled out with all the addenda, because we know that down the road, it is going to be a smoother transaction with this particular buyer agent because up front, they did what they were supposed to do. So make sure you do that. Read the listing. I mean, it seems obvious, but it's not. I had someone call me over the weekend and thank me because I was the only person with multiple offers that actually read that there were certain excluded items, and I put that on the contract. I was the only one. So they ended up having to go back to everybody and say, did you not see this line in the contract where these particular items the seller is going to take with them? Make sure you do that. Make sure you if they ask for a specific closing date, which sellers are doing now, and they're doing it for a lot of reasons. They're doing it because of the school time, because school's going to be out soon and they want to move their kids. They're doing it because maybe the home they're moving into isn't going to be ready for 2 months or 3 months, because that seller needs time. The home they're moving into, they're one of the lucky people who got new construction and they have to wait for that property. And for some sellers who are moving to new construction, they may ask for the closing date to be a moving target, and they may have a time frame in which they want to close. So unfortunately, we just have to do that. What else does a seller need? Is there some other term that the seller really needs? And you get this by reading the entire listing and calling the listing agent and saying, what do I need to do to make the seller happy? And that's what you do. And if you can do that stuff, that's great. Sometimes it's going to be a term you just can't do, and I understand that. When you go in, what you need to do is when they're calling for highest and best, you need to go in for your highest and best then, because they may not come back around to everybody. And in this particular environment, in this particular market, they're not. They're getting their stack of offers and they're just going through them. Again, they may come back to you and ask to tweak a few things, but they're typically not going back and full out negotiating with people. So you need to do your highest and best. Does that mean you need to blow your budget? No, that means highest and best is what you are comfortable with. You need to be able to wake up in the morning in that house and be happy you did it. Okay, and sometimes that means going over asking price. Sometimes that means that doesn't. If you're in a price point where you need to go over the asking price and that overage is enough to make you uncomfortable, you got to lower your price point because you're going to need that wiggle room. But in the end, you need to make sure that you're happy with where you landed and you're happy with the house you bought. So just be really careful out there. I know it's tricky. Make sure that when you do submit these offers, it is your highest and best, because again, you may not get another chance to do this. You may not get a chance to actually tweak this offer or resubmit something. So make sure going forward, you're doing the best you can. And you know what? You may write 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offers before one sticks, and it may happen. And it's happening to a handful of clients of mine. I do have a few clients who they write an offer and it goes right away. I've got a handful of clients who've written 7 and 8 offers. It's just the market right now. And we're going to be dealing with this for probably another year before we start getting a lot more inventory. So if you have any questions on this, let me know. Throw it in the comments or send me a DM. I'm happy to answer any questions about this whole multiple offer situation. It can get tricky on both sides. It can get tricky for the listing agent as well as the buyer agent, because there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. If you have any questions on real estate in general, please put it in the comments or send me a DM, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I hope you have a great day. It's gross outside. So we are going to have a lot of rain off and on for the next 2.5, 3 days. So you're probably not going to get some vitamin D, but I hope you enjoy yourself and have a great day. Bye, everybody.